What separates a good Hearthstone player from a pro Hearthstone player?
Professionals in Hearthstone are looking for that 1% edge. They're doing whatever they can find to get that little bit, whether it's just not being nervous at live events or if it's preparing a little bit extra, doing maybe math, which a lot of good Hearthstone players, they're just like, I'm going to net deck, I'm going to just copy what that guy does and play better than him. Well, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you need to figure out why the deck works, how it works, and what you can do to get that 1% edge in which specific matchup you need.
What was the key to the success you had in the championship?
In the championship, I was one of the only players bringing Zoo at the time. Everyone assumed that it was a really inconsistent deck. And when I had been testing Zoo, I tested all the decks and all the matchups, and Zoo was just overwhelmingly the best possible deck in the format at that time. So I brought that deck, and in testing it had like 77% win rate, and every other deck was at like 62. So it ended up working out really well for me and pulled a lot of weight. So,
what's the competition level like out there for this relatively new card game?
Hearthstone's grown like a lot. The amount of players hitting Legend seems to be increasing every single season. So there's a lot more people that are getting to that competitive level. Because once you actually start hitting Legend, then you're thinking about how can I start participating in tournaments and stuff like that. There's been more open tournaments now. We run an open tournament now, so you can play in our open tournament. So there's just more and more tournaments, more and more chances for people to become a professional player, and I think it's amazing.
And how did you get into Hearthstone?
I played ladder at work, so I'm not a very good worker, I guess. And I just sort of laddered at work as I had like downtime and stuff like that, and then kept getting like top 5 legend on ladder. And then people were like, "You should play tournaments. You should play tournaments." And I was like, "Nah, I don't really have time for that. I'm working and stuff." And then ladder just automatically qualified me for the world championship. So since it automatically qualified me, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go. And then I ended up winning.
What was it like seeing Hearthstone covered by ESPN?
I didn't actually see that. I didn't even know that was a thing. That sounds awesome. I'm really excited to see esports become more of a mainstream thing. It's kind of been on the back foot in especially the United States for a really long time. Majority of the time I have to fly to Europe for tournaments because that's where the main esports scene is. So if it could actually become a bigger thing in the United States, that would be awesome. Less travel time, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy it.
What are your thoughts on the current Patron Warrior deck right now?
Patron Warrior is an absurdly strong deck. I'm hoping this new expansion probably changes it up a little bit, takes some focus away from it. But it's not like an unbeatable deck. Like there's definitely decks that can do well against it, but the problem is like how well, because Patron Warrior has a solid about 55 to 65% against every deck you can possibly line up against it, which is what really the main problem is. Like, there's tons of decks that are extremely good and better than Patron Warrior in specific matchups, but just being able to be all around in every matchup so consistent, it makes it like silly not to play it on ladder, which then kind of pushes out some of the other possibilities for ladder decks.
At the core, the game is about strategy and how to play your cards, but it's also all about statistics.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot about statistics, and you just can't have one deck that's overwhelmingly good against everything. It needs to have a hard counter. Like every other deck in the entire game has something that it really struggles against, has less than 40% win rate against, and Patron Warrior just doesn't have that.
And what do you think this new expansion will add to your play style?
A lot more hero powering is what it seems like. It's been kind of like the hero power has been diminishing in value in Hearthstone. So like every time they release a new set, they release a little bit better cards, a little bit better cards, a little bit better cards. So there's a power creep with the level of how strong an individual card is. Well, now, because of that, the hero powers are starting to be really useless. Like in constructed play at the competitive level, you don't want a hero power ever. Like it's really bad to hero power. It's a huge loss in tempo, loss in board development. Whereas now they're bringing the focus back towards the hero powers. It's making it so there is now going to be 9 distinct classes, 9 different hero powers. That's going to be way more relevant. And I really like seeing that because that's sort of a feature of the game that's like way different than other card games, is you have these 9 heroes that all have different unique hero powers. But if you don't want to use them, then what's the point, right? So now you actively want to use them. I think it's going to influence the game a lot. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Are you playing anything right now competitively or for fun? Heroes of the Storm, Call of Duty?
I play a lot of Path of Exile right now. That's sort of my off game. Like pretty much everybody that plays a game competitively, they grind their game out competitively that they play so much that eventually they're like, gotta have a side game every once in a while, just blow off some steam or whatever. And sometimes you can get pretty salty playing Hearthstone.